Okay, if none, we go to approval of the minutes. I need a motion and a second. Moved by Alderman Stompanato, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Legansky.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The minutes have been approved. Takes us to receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications for the council? Mary?
Thank you. I've received, just like many of the other alder people here, lots of communications about the Gerber proposed site at Plainfield and Lamont Road, so I know we'll be talking about that later. I did receive several communications and continue to have open conversation with Mel Gregory from the Carriageway West neighborhood about IDOT. I did go to the Carriageway West and Carriage Greens Homeowners Association meeting and talked about the IDOT Managed Lane program, and just continuing conversation with him and also coordinating with city staff and communications to IDOT about fence repair along North Frontage Road. There's also fence repair that needs to happen along South Frontage Road, and also the other project aside from the managed lane, which is the fixing of the curve along North Frontage Road by Mount Carmel. So that conversation's continuing. We're trying to get more answers from IDOT, but sadly, a lot of that falls on deaf ears. I did receive several communications from Andrew Kelly, resident of Darien, just regarding questions and some items about video gaming in Darien. And I'm just going to summarize something he has suggested is that he thinks it's a minimum the city council should require all businesses with video gaming display a large, easy-to-read sign in each of the facilities so that someone that wants help, whether or not they have a gaming addiction or gambling addiction, that they know how to seek it. The signage should be detailed and have all the information about how to find help if the average person can understand it. So he just was expressing concerns about gaming and our senior population and people who perhaps can't afford it, becoming a gambler-holic kind of thing. So I did tell him I'd share that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Eric?
I had a question from a resident regarding the city's street sweeping procedures and stuff. So I talked to Dan today. I'll be getting back to the resident tomorrow.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a communication from Bonnie Casera, the president of the Homeowners Association from Norman Courts. Apparently, there was a party outdoors in the guest parking area. Eventually, one of the neighbors called the police, and by the time the police got there, people were gone away. Apparently, Chief Thomas said they found someone driving away and really give them a citation. But at the end of the day, you have to call 911 and be there, because if you call 911 and don't show up, there's not much they can do. So just tell our residents, please dial 911, and it's the best course of action.
Anyone else? Just to piggyback on what Alderwoman Sullivan said, as you know, and as she stated, we've been after IDOT for years in order to get frontage road fencing fixed. But more than that, we've been working to get the managed lane project going. On Friday, I drafted a letter to the governor, Governor Pritzker. That was at the request of an agency which is putting together all of our letters to be sent directly to the governor, requesting for safety's sake, for emission's sake, to develop the managed lane project. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it, but they will only develop the managed lane project if there's what there's called a PPP, a public-private partnership. And last spring, our state senator, John Curran, got that passed in the state Senate. And so the ability for the state to develop a PPP in order to do the managed lane project is there. So we're again pushing for that. But as Mary stated, a lot of what we say falls on deaf ears. Right now, they're in phase 1, and they haven't even saved money for phase 2, but we're continuing to work on that. With that, we'll move to the mayor's report. And this is several appointments. The first item is consideration of a motion to approve the appointment of Melody Jankowski to the Holiday Home Decorating Committee. Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Gustafson. Any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Belzak.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Legansky.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The motion passes. The next item is consideration of motion to approve the reappointment of Elizabeth Hayes to the Holiday Home Decorating Committee. Motion to approve. Alderman Legansky, seconded by Alderwoman Sullivan. Any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Legansky.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Will Melody and Elizabeth please come forward? This is a fun committee.
Yeah.
You guys
Good
work
one.
really hard. I mean,
Very hard.
I used to be on it, so.
you had to graduate from it.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Holiday Home Decorating Committee according to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Melody, I have something for you.
The decorations have started. I'm sure
Do
the people
the
who,
tour bus again this year, I hope.
Liz, you want to say something?
Thank you. At
go to the podium, go
Yeah.
to the microphone so we.
I know there's a lot of stuff on the plate tonight, so just real quickly, the meeting that we'll probably be announcing the winners at is December 18th. I think that's the last city council meeting before the holiday. We'll likely be out viewing the lights sometime in the week of December 4th, because that's how much time it takes to get Diane Novarini and get all of those things in place. Congratulations to the De La Cruz family for their tree, which is in Millennium Park this year. Any resident can call in their own home if they've done something they want to nominate themselves. Any neighbor, any alderman or mayor that wants to call in, any kind of displays. We do go out and look around and see, but sometimes you miss one, And also keep in mind the block competitions. We've had one block that just does a fantastic job that's been winning every year since we do the block competitions. But if you have a block where you can get 5 people in a row to decorate, that makes them eligible for the block competition. I think it makes for a great neighborhood building exercise, to tell you the truth. And so anyway, we look forward to another year. We want to commend these people who do something that really improves our quality of life that time of year. So thanks again, and thanks for the nomination.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
That takes us to our city clerk's report. Joanne?
No report this evening.
Takes us to our city administrator's report.
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Department head information and questions. Any questions for Mr. Gombeck or for Chief Thomas? Okay. Treasury report, Mike, warrant 232413.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this evening I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 232413 in the amount of $876,404.82 from the listed funds. Payroll for the period ended October 19th and November 2nd, totaling $584,185.31. Total will be approved of $1,460,590.13.
Motion to approve. Alderwoman Sullivan, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Any questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Legansky.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The warrant's been approved. It takes us to standing committee reports. Any of the aldermen Chairs have anything for the council? Alderman Belzak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Municipal Services Committee for November is being rescheduled from the 27th to the 21st prior to our next city council meeting. It'll be at 6:15 in council chambers.
Mary?
The Admin Finance Committee was canceled tonight due to lack of agenda items, so our next one is scheduled for Monday, December 4th at 6 p.m. Just a reminder that we do have our city council goal setting on Tuesday, November 14th. And that kind of verges into our budget planning for the 2024-25 budget. This afternoon, Lisa Clem sent an email out with the proposed schedule where the draft budget will be sent to council around February 13th with our first committee of a whole on Wednesday, February 21st, followed by Tuesday, February 27th. And then there's a couple of other dates. My goal again this year is to wrap it up in 2 meetings.
Thank you, Mary. Michael?
The Police Pension Fund will be having their quarterly meeting this Thursday, November 9th. There's been a time change. It's at 5:30 across the street in the Police Pension Fund to review the third quarter performance.
Alderman Kenny?
And speaking of the police training room, the police committee will meet Monday, November 20th, 6 p.m., pending agenda items.
And just as an add-on, the Darien Action Committee, which is the group that planned our Oktoberfest as well as a number of our other events, is planning the tree lighting ceremony for the Historical Society, and they're meeting this Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Indian Prairie Library. All right. It takes us to questions and comments. Again, this is agenda-related, so if you'd like to speak to the council now, or if you'd like to wait till the item actually comes up, you have a choice. Okay, takes us to old business. There being none, it moves to the consent agenda, and I will be reading each one of these items. Item A, consideration of a motion to approve the expenditure of budgeted funds, line item 0140-4219, professional liability insurance, PPE first aid, to purchase 20 Zoll AED 3 packages from Second Chance Cardiac Solutions in an amount of $28,815. Item B, consideration of a motion to approve the expenditure of budgeted funds, line item 0140-4325, consulting professional services for 1-year law enforcement policy manual update subscription from Lexipol LLC in the amount of $10,134.09. Item C, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a proposal from Christopher B. Burke Engineering for the professional design engineering services related to the survey and preparation of design drawings for the Plainfield Road retaining wall at the southwest corner of Plainfield Road and Cass Avenue in an amount not to exceed $52,300. Item D, consideration of a motion approving a contingency in the amount of $20,000 for easement acquisition, pending survey and design engineering for the Plainfield Road retaining wall. Item E, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Connexon to purchase streetlight fixtures and shield at the submitted unit price through April 30th, 2024. Item F, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Connection to purchase streetlight poles at the submitted unit price through April 30th, 2024. Item G, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of BioMelt AG64, the organic de-icing accelerator product from SNI Solutions, in an amount not to exceed $11,205, and that is basically 4,500 gallons at $2.49 a gallon. Item H, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of alternative liquid de-icer and anti-icing products from Industrial Systems Limited in an amount not to exceed $17,235. Item I, consideration of a motion approving a contingency in the amount of $10,000 for unforeseen winter conditions that may require the use of additional liquid de-icer and anti-icing products. Item J, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of alternative liquid de-icer and anti-icing products from K-Tech Specialty Coatings Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $23,276. Item K, consideration of a motion approving a contingency in the amount of $10,000 for unforeseen winter conditions that may require the use of additional liquid de-icer and anti-icing products. Item L, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance approving a water purchase and sale contract between the DuPage Water Commission and contract customers. Item M, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution approving an extension of the water supply contract between the DuPage Water Commission and the City of Chicago. Item N, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the City of Darien, which includes a pickup, dump truck, and computer monitors. And item O, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance annexing certain property to the City of Darien known as 10 South 360 Kearney Road. Motion to approve. Alderman Stompanato, seconded by Alderman Shower, and the roll.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Legansky.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The consent agenda has been approved. It takes us to new business. With our first item, item A, I'm going to ask our city planner, Mr. Yankee, to begin the presentation. Then he will be followed by Mr. Gombeck. At that point, then, we will open it up to questions among the council, and when that is completed, we'll open it up to comments from the audience. So, Jordan?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I have a few overarching comments before I turn it over to Director Gombeck here. For people at home, too, that may have not been at a meeting leading up to this. What this is a special use request. The applicant is Store Build LLC, and they are representing Gerber Collision. The property, as we're familiar with, is the vacant CVS, or prior CVS, I should say, at 8325 Lamont Road. If you're familiar, that property has been vacant since right around April 2022. And this request is a special use under the B2 zoning district. And the, as you saw in the packet, probably the use itself is classified as a garage for storage, repair, and servicing of motor vehicles, including body repair, painting, and engine rebuilding. So that is the use definition in our ordinance. However, the specific user is called Gerber Collision and Glass. So with that being said, as I mentioned, this property is zoned B2 and the ordinance classifies it as a special use. There are some other things with the property, just briefly, that's been talked about at Planning and Zoning Commission and Municipal Services, and you saw in the packet. First things first, the actual physical improvements or changes to the property is primarily a retrofit of the existing building, along with some small curb cut changes in the parking lot and a proposed 6-foot wall enclosure to house cars that would be temporarily placed there in need of repair before they're brought into the building. And you'll note that there are 3 overhead doors proposed as changes to the building. 1 facing Plainfield or 83rd Street, and 2 facing Lamont Road. I guess that's probably the general gist of it. In the packet, you'll note that the parking summary is included in there, and this proposed use meets parking requirements. There was also a review or trip generation comment provided from our traffic consultant, and I'll let Dan discuss that in a minute here. But besides that, I think the idea was just to provide kind of the overview that you probably already heard at prior meetings. But again, this case appeared in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission and then Municipal Services last week, and now it's here for your review and vote on the special use. That being said, I guess I'll turn it over to Dan.
Thank you, Jordan. Mr. Mayor, good evening, City Council, and our viewing audience this evening. I'd like to just take a couple minutes and just kind of let everyone know where we've been. The former CVS basically has been on the market and in negotiations with Storbill for a little bit over 2 years. While it closed over the last 20 months, we, the city staff, have been in contact with the CVS owners prior to Storbill, then purchased it, then we were kind of in contact with Storbill. What were the uses that we looked at? We looked at retail, we looked at restaurants, we looked at recreational use, we looked at medical use. Without not going into the actual details, a lot of that was cost prohibitive, whether it was for the retailer, restaurants, potential collateral, and the economic incentives that may have been for a restaurant use specifically would have been exorbitant. Gerber submitted, obviously, as Jordan just spoke, a special petition for a special use. Staff had discussions regarding the site and what they proposed to do and how they did it. One of the main points I wanted to refer to was a variation versus a special use, a condition. We, as staff, had recommended that we are mandating the actual fence, in this case, was a brick wall, a 6-foot-high brick wall, to hide the vehicles that were damaged waiting for repair. We, as staff, mandated that for the simple reason that we did not want to see vehicles, or residents would not see vehicles that were damaged, so it looked like a junkyard, if you want to say. Staff had originally looked at this as a variance. The petitioner was not the one that was requesting this. Again, staff was the one that was requesting this. This is why it's a condition, and also Attorney Murphy can expound on that as well later if required. We also looked at issues regarding environmental and traffic specifically. We had requested of Gerber to come back after the Planning and Zoning Commission with additional experts in regarding to environmental, and environmental issues were all addressed. That was the main focus of the issue. Second issue was traffic. We as staff reached out to CLOA, our consultant, our traffic consultants, and the trip generation is significantly reduced in regards to any concerns regarding vehicular turnouts, turn-ins, and excessive traffic. What I'd like to do right now is turn it back over to Attorney Murphy for the criteria for the special use. Attorney Murphy will specifically address the expounding on a main point referred to as necessary as one of the main subjects, as was voiced by various residents, non-residents, and so forth. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, members of the audience. Let me, to the council, I may be repeating a couple of things that we talked about.
John, I know from Pat, they're going to ask you to speak on the mic.
Better? Okay. Good evening. I may be repeating a few things that we talked about during work session, so forgive me on that, but let me kind of explain a few aspects of this matter. The council's consideration begins with a recognition that you are a legislative body. And as a legislative body, you adopt laws, no different than the Illinois General Assembly or Congress, for that matter, within your realm. And the adoption of a zoning ordinance is a decision to pass a law. The decision not to adopt a zoning ordinance is your decision not to adopt a law. So no different than the Illinois General Assembly within your realm of authority. Let's talk about a few aspects of what we have here, which is a special use application. We had some discussion of this last Monday, I guess it was, or Tuesday at the committee meeting, and it's worth spending a little more time on. The Darien zoning ordinance, like most zoning ordinance, has a list of permitted uses and then a list of special uses. And then the final category of uses is prohibited uses. So if it's not in a particular zoning district, if a use is not listed as either permitted or an allowable special use, it's prohibited. So those are the three broad categories of use within a particular zoning district. As the law has developed in this case, or in this state, state of Illinois, a allowable special use is presumed to be compatible with the particular zoning district, unless there are certain specific conditions that make that proposed use in the district special. I've given a couple of examples in my council memo that I think illustrate the point pretty well. One of the allowable special uses is a restaurant. That means that generally speaking, the zoning ordinance and the city, by adopting that zoning ordinance, the city council has determined that restaurants are a compatible use in this zoning district. But a particular piece of property may have special problems. Not big enough, not enough on-street parking or available locked-in off-street parking. That would be a special circumstance that would give the council ample discretion to deny that particular request. The other example I cited, which is a fairly common one, is a gas station. Gas stations, with or without car wash, are a allowable special use in B2. That means that the presumption is gas stations are compatible in B2 unless there's something special. The example I gave is somebody or an entity that wants to put up a gas station mid-block. Or where you would have obvious problems that would adhere with that particular location for that particular use. Difficulty to make left-hand turns, lighting, et cetera, challenges with a car wash. So that would be a circumstance that would give the council authority to deny that particular special use. So the rule number one is that special uses, if they're listed in a particular zoning district, are presumed appropriate unless there are some special circumstances. Then we turn to the second aspect that engendered some discussion at the committee meeting. We talked about it during the council work session, is the special use criteria. Now, our ordinance is typical of virtually all zoning ordinances in the area. Some of the criteria that are listed in the zoning ordinance are pretty easy to balance. Impact on neighbors, traffic, things of that nature. Where many people get hung up on or there are challenges with interpretation is this word necessary. One of the special use criteria is that the particular special use is necessary for the public convenience at that location. As we mentioned earlier, there's very few uses that are necessary. I guess IRS buildings and cemeteries, I guess, are the only real necessary land uses. So as the case law in Illinois has evolved, the courts have determined that the term necessary does not mean necessary in the mathematical absolute sense. Instead, it means it's analogous to it's reasonable in this particular location for this particular purpose. So again, it defaults to reasonableness of the city council's determination. And then that then returns us to the point that I started with, that you are a legislative body, and the various criteria that are set forth in the zoning ordinance relative to special uses are guideposts. They're guidelines for you as the legislative body to make a decision. So this process, it's not math, and it's not a court case where you serve as the judges to decide whether somebody has met the burden of proof in a mathematical sense or in even like a jury sense of who went through the intersection first, the plaintiff or the defendant. This is legislative judgment that inheres in this legislative body.
Any questions for John? Any questions for Jordan, Dan, or John? Joe?
So if I'm hearing correctly, for us to make a decision, we're looking at this, at what you wrote in your memo, and the subsection G set forth the special use standards, and you get the list of criteria below that. So we're to take that criteria and apply it in a legislative fashion to make our decision.
Correct.
That's all I want to know.
All right. We also hit Mary?
So I think a question I posed, I know that the city added a condition regarding the fencing or the wall, whatever you want to call it, for the intent of vehicles, we'll call them wrecked vehicles, future customers, are put behind that. What happens when the number of vehicles exceed that space? Do they end up in the front lot?
Gerber would not anticipate that, not that I want to speak for him, but I know that previous conversations regarding this were talked about that vehicles are scheduled. There's a turnaround time from, as Gerber stated, about 3.5 days for them to turn around a vehicle. So again, if there's anything furtherance to that comment, I would ask of Gerber to come up to the podium and speak on that.
Yeah, because other Gerber facilities have their wrecked vehicles out in front of their facilities.
I want to
I'll talk to them.
That's
But
fine.
is there
What
any recourse on the city's part, since this was a condition with the wall/fence and the gate, that what happens when it's a strike in Detroit, or there's automotive workers, repair people, I think that was like 2 years ago, when there's like work can't be done, or there's a supply chain issue. So there's lots of vehicles that are stacking up that exceed the space to allow them to be. Do they overflow into the front? And if they do, is there, like, with your garbage cans in the city of Darien, is there a code violation?
Simple answer is yes, it would be a code violation. The vehicles, wrecked vehicles, are to be maintained behind this brick wall. Now, also, there's another fence as well, and that's a different fence.
At the rear.
Right, exactly. So that's part of a condition too, that the developer has agreed to put up as being a good neighbor, and we're going to they will coordinate the color with the.
Because that would be a privacy fence. 'Cause
correct.
Right now, it's just like a wrought iron.
Correct, yes. And it does need to be repaired, so the developer can easily put it on. Now, keep in mind, this 6-foot wall, this brick wall, the developer doesn't have to put anything in place. So again, I want to just, reiterate that. To hide those cars, he could just have them in the parking lot there if he wanted to.
Right, but the city's asking for the.
Correct,
condition
exactly.
in
I just
order
wanted to-
consider the special use.
Yes, correct. I just
Well, yeah,
wanted to reiterate
obviously, the
that.
Gerber on Ogden and Downers Grove does not have said privacy fence.
And
They
part of-
have like 40 wrecked cars in the parking lot.
Right, and part of that is Gerber over the years has been buying up the ma and pa shops. So those conditions may not have been in place as they purchased them.
Okay, I'll ask them the questions, but
Sure.
thank you, Dan, for answering.
Anyone else? Any questions for the Gerber staff? The Gerber staff is here tonight. Any questions for them? Jerry?
Yep. Got a few. Who am I addressing with Gerber? I'm not even sure. Okay. And you are?
Alderman, my name is Jim Olguin. I'm the zoning attorney for the applicant, Store Build, and representing Gerber as well. So
Okay.
happy to answer as many questions as we can.
Great. I'm trying to get a feel for how many cars we're dealing with there. So, like, what's the average amount of days it takes to fix a car?
Sure. And obviously, depending on the work that a car entails, that can vary. But what might be illustrative of the amount of work that's going to be occurring on the site is the numbers of customers that we expect to come in and out on a daily basis, and that might help you kind of judge the activity. We're looking at, on any given day, having 7 customer trips. That means 3 incoming, and there are 3.5 outgoing, and that's actually what at least in talking to our operations, we think that might be high for this particular location. But that's the kind of numbers that we're looking at in terms of number of trips for customers. So we're looking at about 3 cars coming in, 3 cars going out, and one of the key components when we're looking at trying to manage the number of cars that are coming in is that most of our customers that do come in, that's done by appointment. So if we are getting backed up, we can push those things back, so we don't have a situation where we're overrunning our parking area where we store the cars.
Right, so what's the average days? I didn't get that. Is it 14 days on average?
3 days, 3 to 5 days for a car to between they come in and they go out.
Wow. I'm an old Reaganite, so I believe, verify, trust but verify. And I've done a lot of homework speaking with a lot of different business people in this line of business. And I'm told it's on average about 14 days on average. Again, you got some that are maybe 2 days, some are 26 days, but on average, I know I look at touches and things like that, but I'm under the impression that it's around 14 days. It's gotten worse with COVID. It's gotten worse with the strike. So, the GM strike, so getting parts available. I mean, I've talked to one individual that said they have a car that's been sitting, they've had it over a year because they're waiting on one particular component that they cannot put in because it would be a safety issue. So to know that you're constantly, so I'm trying to get a feel for how many cars might be there at a time, and based upon the square footage of the 13,200, I'm estimating like 50 to 60 cars is my gut is going to be there at any time. Is that about right?
Let me check with
Because I've talked to people with smaller shops, about 8,500, probably 3 people, and they say it's not uncommon for them at an 8,500 square foot facility to have 20 to 30. So I'm almost saying it's 50 to 60.
I'm Ryan Murphy with Store Build. I might be able to help address that some. Gerber operates a little bit differently, and then they operate by appointment. They also don't do totaled cars or damaged cars. These are lightly damaged vehicles for the most part. A lot of what they do might be dentless repair, paintless repair. So there's some minor things that will bring down the average, but again, this is by appointment, and so they can really control the amount of vehicles going in and out.
What percentage of cars would you say are towed in of all the cars you deal with? What's a good percentage rate on that? Because I've done some homework on that too, so I'm curious as to what you say it is.
Jim Brady with Gerber. I'm going to say that rate is going to be very low for the Darien store. Again, it's not going to be no totaled cars. Everything's going to be drivable, and they will drop the car off, probably get a rent-a-car from Enterprise, and get their car back in 3 days.
Again, but you can't give me a percentage? Is it 10%, 5%?
I'm going to say 5%.
Because that's what I was given, 5 to 10, but one individual told me that because we're by an interstate, it could be higher because, just of what happens being near I-55 and, 355. So, they're 5 to 10 is what I've gotten from about 4 different people that I've talked to. But at the same time, they say that it could be higher because of where we're at being close to I-55. So you still say maybe 5 to 10%.
5%, yes.
And then of cars that are towed in, how many of those you might say are totaled that you might not even work on? Because to me, if a car comes, it's totaled, and you don't work on it, that has to happen, I would think.
We're going to have the cars go to the tow lot and not come to Darien until there's an appointment for it. And that would be once insurance was worked out and parts were ordered.
Okay, so now in this fenced-in area, how many cars are we gonna be able to fit back there? Because at most locations I've looked at, most locations, the building's up front with the parking in the back, and we're the reverse here.
Correct.
Okay, we've taken a CVS that's set back far. Do you still need a fire lane around that back? I would think we do, no?
Fire lane is already, there's an ingress and egress, in which case, if it's a full 360,
But you have to go through the fence to get it.
No.
The gate, no?
no. It's off of Plainfield and off of Lamar Road.
From behind,
Yes.
okay.
There's a total of 16 parking spaces there, plus stuff in front of the door that we would keep clear
16 spaces,
in the fenced, walled area.
that's not a lot. Okay, then where are like dumpsters, compactors, old tires, old parts, where is that gonna be stored?
The dumpsters are on the northeast corner, just where they were when it was Osco. There's a dumpster enclosure there.
What about the recycle bins, like that, for the recycled parts and fenders and that? Is
Those
that
would
gonna
be
be
in
next to the dumpster?
Inside and picked up as needed.
It won't be outside?
No, the outside will be trash and recyclable cardboard.
Visible,
There's an enclosure there. I believe it's a fence.
behind?
Behind enclosure.
Okay, now I know Gerber has like 700 locations or something, right?
900 something, 915.
And I know they're all company-owned stores.
Correct.
How many of those does Gerber own, of their facilities? Do they lease all their facilities, or do they own facilities?
You mean the exact property? Do we own it?
Yes, sir.
Most of the property is leased.
20,
High
50%,
percentage,
70%?
I'm going to say 90%.
90%, okay. So if there was an environmental problem, who's responsible, Gerber or the leaseholder?
Probably Gerber.
Even though they don't own the property?
That's how our leases are written, yeah.
Yeah, actually, the responsibility would apply to both the property owner and to the tenant. So both.
Both?
Yes.
Now, maybe you could write it in the lease and say, no, it's yours, but does Gerber bear responsibility if in fact there's environmental issues?
Yes, we do in all cases.
Okay. I mean, every location I've looked at, Gerber, your competitors, independents, I mean, most places have buffers. I mean,
And most of them are the plastic ones, yeah.
right. I mean, it's an industrial type of work. It's not glamorous work. I mean, I was in the chicken business for 25 years, and it's not glamorous either. So I've been in your shoes, trust me, in terms of operations and things like that. So, but typically what I've noticed is there's either in industrial areas or areas that have streets on both sides, not really where you've got, a senior facility right next door and homes behind it. I have to think it's pretty unique of what Gerber has, because I haven't seen any. I've been to quite a few over the last couple of weeks, trust me. So that's why I think it's a unique situation here. Again, I just think it's a square peg in a round hole in terms of trying to retrofit something that, just the way it lays out. If the building was in front and we had all this space in back, I'm thinking differently. But just the way this is, I don't know how you can really control the amount of cars to know that they're always going to be in that fenced-in area, especially if a tow truck brings something in over a weekend or whatever. Can that happen?
Alderman, in terms of tow truck deliveries, either after hours or on the weekend, that's something that would be prohibited at this site. We would not permit that to happen. And, as has been noted, because appointments are required in order to bring cars in, we really do have that control in terms of being able to monitor the number of cars that we have on site. And also, we also believe that this site is actually really does work well for this use for a number of reasons, and including some of the ones that you're pointing out. One, the building is really set back off of 83rd Street. So for our senior residents located immediately to the east, the building doesn't, and the parking of cars doesn't get into their sight line just because we're so far back. Also, if you look, I'm sure is included in your board packet, the landscaping between the senior apartments and this building and this site is extensive and mature. This isn't a situation where it's a new site with small trees. It's extensive. And if you look at the photographs, not only are we talking about, we're talking about significant evergreens. So this is a four season coverage. So from a visual impact on those residents, to both the east and also to the south, the berming, the landscaping, the location of the building is extensive. When we look to the property owners to the south, we have an extensive setback between the building and the property line of over 93 feet. Plus, once again, a lot of landscaping, and we're enhancing that landscaping. So when we're looking at impact on these folks like you're concerned about, we don't see that there's going to be any impact. They're looking at the exact same building that is there with all the shrubbery that's there. And when we're looking at, on the other side, on the area that we are putting this additional wall that's been requested and additional landscaping that's been requested, if you look at it, it's already very, very well landscaped. We would be able to, and I don't think there would be any visual impact, even if we kept it as is. But we have no problem of fulfilling the city's request in terms of adding more. Because, one of the reasons that we believe that visually it's not a problem even at this location is just because of the topography of the site as well.
Yeah, because if you're coming from the west on Plainfield, or if you're coming from the north, because of the elevation drop, it's tough to see. But when you're coming along 83rd, heading west, I mean, all you see is the front of the building, and I mean, I sat there a couple mornings, so I wanted to get a feeling for how many students actually go by that site going to Lakeview. So I sat out there 2 mornings, and when you look to the east, I mean, I have to admit, it's beautiful. I mean, you got the evergreens, you got the trees. I mean, it is a beautiful site. So I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Mary?
I know there was, I attended the municipal services meeting where your environmental representative from Gerber talked extensively, but not much was talked about in terms of noise, the noise concerns from the HVAC equipment. I mean, obviously, compared to a CVS pharmacy or any type of store, you're going to have a lot more machinery, equipment that, I mean, is going to generate noise.
Sure, and I can address the noise concern. Obviously, anytime a commercial development goes in someplace, noise is something that is a concern. What we have noted on all the Gerber locations that the actual noise, just outside the building, and we're talking just outside the building, never gets above 65 decibels. And then the sound attenuates over distance. Now, the reason why it's low is, number one, the building is fully air conditioned. So that means that, even during the summer, we don't have to have the doors open when work is being performed. All the work is being done within a insulated brick building, which once again attenuates the noise and really contains any sound. And the other component that we're talking about when we're dealing with noise is what the noise is in the vicinity. We are at a very busy intersection. We took some readings on site, and the on-site road noise is going to be higher than the noise that would be generated by our use. And the use is within a building that, once again, has significant setbacks from the area residents. We're over 200, almost 200 feet to the building to the south. We're 125 feet or 124 feet from the nearest point on the apartments. Now, when you compare that to the CVS, which has had a drive-through, I work with with developers that do drive-throughs, and typically, one of the recommendations for the noise level of a drive-through speaker box at about a foot away is 85 decibels. So we are actually going to be less noisy than having a drive-through that was there previously. And then the other component, which I think is really important when we're looking at any impact on the adjacent properties, is what are the hours of operation? And the hours of operation for this particular use is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. No evening hours, no weekend hours. So we have a use that is going to be quieter than what was there, is going to be open less time, so the impact on the people that live around there is going to be significantly less. So noise, and to put it frankly, we will meet the city's noise regulations 100%. We are not asking for a variation, nor do we need one.
Thank you. Going on to the environmental, I know when the presentation was given at Municipal Services, there was talk about the data or the sites being audited by a third part. Is it a third party, or does someone else come in to, could you explain that a little bit, the protocol? Because obviously, the presentation was given by a Gerber employee. We didn't have anyone else, any other, environmentalist present, or another resource to tap into.
Sure, and actually, probably this was best answered by Kim Miller from Gerber, and I believe Kim, she was actually one of the outside consultants before she came and worked for Gerber, but she can answer in greater detail what that process is.
Hi, I'm Kim Miller. I'm Director of Environmental Health and Safety for the Boyd Group, a parent company of Gerber Collision. I'm responsible for over 900 shops in North America and the safety of 10,000 employees. As to our environmental and compliance protocols, we do use a third party called GMG EnviroSafe. They come in at least every 90 days to do a top-to-bottom audit of every location. They audit against all laws, environmental and safety, as well as our policies, which often exceed environmental or OSHA rules. They take their findings and put them onto a centralized dashboard that can be seen by all levels of management, and everyone is rated annually based on their performance in that dashboard. So everybody through the chain of command and their ability to maintain that score is part of their annual review. So yep, and that's an independent third party, and we've invested a lot in making sure that they go through with great regularity.
Anyone else? Any other questions for the Gerber staff? Any other questions for Dan?
Question for Gerber staff. So your business model is all through appointments. So let's suppose you've got a full capacity of cars in your shop. You're running into a situation where a handful of your cars need parts that you weren't anticipating when you took on the project, took on the job, and now you're sitting here having to wait for parts, whether it be a week or 10 days or whatever the case may be. What are you doing with the anticipated appointments that would have been coming in before? So somebody's already scheduled to come in at, say, 8 o'clock today on a Monday morning. However, on a Friday afternoon, they pulled a quarter panel. They found some damage inside. They need additional parts. Now that job is delayed. How does the scheduling process get backed up on that?
We would, of course, do our best to keep everything on track, but we could also reach out to other nearby Gerber stores to see if they have vacancies in their workflow where that car could be handled there.
Okay. I heard you saying something earlier about, a tow lots Is that something there's other cars, you're taking cars at an off-site location and I'm dropping them there versus that fenced-in area they here on 83rd Street?
Correct. The cars could be brought to the tow lot, especially if they're going to be there an extended period of time, rather than tying up the bricked-in lot we have here at Darien.
Do you mind me asking where's that tow lot at?
We don't own tow trucks. We sub those out, so it could be anywhere.
Okay.
And just to clarify on that, those tow lots, they have a financial incentive to hold those cars because they charge that back to Gerber. But that's something also earlier when we talked about cars getting dropped off. That's another reason why a tow truck wouldn't just drop off a car because they get financial benefit for keeping the cars on their lot.
Okay, that's all I got.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I'm going to open this up to public comment. I want the public to understand that this is not a presentation or a debate. If you come to the microphone and you make a presentation, that it's not going to be a response period. We're going to listen to what people have to say. The next person will come up, we'll listen to what those people have to say. That's how we want to handle it. We're only giving you 3 minutes, so please be cognizant of that time. If you're going to present, if somebody goes to the microphone and presents the same idea that you were going to present for the sake of allowing people to present, and we want as many people who want to present. And so we ask you not to come up and repeat something that you've already heard somebody say. We're looking to get as many people up here to present their concerns. Is finding that out, listening to that is also critical to us. But we're going to really hold to the 3 minutes so that we can get through the crowd and we can listen to your concerns that you have. So it is now open to public comment. Those of you who want to step forward, please step forward. Give us your name. There's no need to give us an address. Just give us your name. Yeah.
My name is Gary Cook. I've been at the last couple meetings, and thank you for the opportunity to be at this one. I'm also president of the Brookridge Homeowners Association. I've heard a lot of feedback from our residents, our members, and they are in close proximity in some cases to this site. The setback of 93 feet doesn't really mean a lot to people when the average lot width is at least 100 feet and their lot depths are over 200 feet. Typical lot sizes are half an acre. They go up to well over an acre in the neighborhood. I will say, rather than talking about the environmental matters or traffic or Gerber's horrendous Better Business Bureau rating, let's get right on to the main concerns that we have, or I have in particular, speaking for the Brookridge Homeowners Association. This operation is a quasi-industrial operation. It just doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood. That's the crux of the concerns that we have, and I've heard from our membership. There's plenty of places that Gerber could operate their rebuilding of wrecked automobiles business in a more of an industrial area that's more insulated from the population, from the neighbors, from the senior citizens' home. So all of those concerns are pretty important for us. We are concerned about the property values by having a body shop in the neighborhood right down the street from houses. Houses going on the market right down the street from Gerber. It's going to probably be priced over $600,000. There's a lot at stake for these residents who are going to be impacted. Can I say definitively the property values will go down? I can't say that because it hasn't happened yet. We'd have to see that. But who wants to have a body shop down the street from their house? Who wants to have a body shop immediately adjacent to their house? So nobody wants that in this neighborhood, and I'm pretty confident, based on the feedback we've received, that this would be an adverse type of operation for the neighborhood. Single-family residences everywhere, plus a senior citizens area house apartment complex next door. I will also mention that the criteria, the criteria mentioned something about the intended use of the special permit needs to be in harmony with the adjoining properties. And the only evidence that I've heard that facility is going to be in harmony with the adjoining properties is from the proponents' mouth themselves.
Seconds left.
Pardon me?
15 seconds left.
Thank you. So we're concerned about there being just a stark difference between what was there before, CVS, which was valuable to the neighborhood, an essential service, and what we're seeing as a body shop.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Rich Jepson, owner, operator of Darien Collision Center. I'm at 8125 Lamont Road. I've been at the previous two meetings. Darien Collision Center is 2 blocks away from 8325. We are open to the general public without reservations for estimates, consultations, and questions. Many of you do not even know Darien Collision Center exists until you need our services. We have been at this location for roughly 16 years, providing a service to the community. Something that's not been discussed, that should be, is regarding sales tax. The portion of sales tax on any job ticket in a body shop is subject to tax on parts and paint-related materials. Labor is not taxable. The taxable amount fluctuates on every job. It may be 10%, 30%, or 40%. To assume there will be an 8% charge tax on $1.5 million in sales as quoted by Gerber is absurd. If half their gross revenue was taxable, it would be $750,000 generated in sales tax. Multiply that times 8%, which is the sales tax rate in Darien of DuPage County. That's $60,000. Darien does not receive all of that revenue. According to the Illinois.gov, and I quote, 20% of the state's 6.25% sales tax rate on general merchandise and 100% of the state's 1% sales tax on qualifying food and medical is returned to the local governments. That's very confusing, so I asked an accountant. He stated that 1%, which is obviously $7,500, and 20% of the 6.25 is $9,375 based on $750,000 taxable revenue, if I understood that right and if they did. Darien's portion would be $16,875. That would equate to 0.5 to 1% of the total gross sales from Gerber if they've quoted $1.5 million. With such a low yield on tax goods, this should be considered. That was a retail site and should remain one to generate sales tax. I bring this to your attention to mute that argument of sales tax benefits. In the audience, I have not heard from a single individual that is pro-Gerber. The aldermen and alderwomen represent the voice of the people in their wards. The alder people have a job to do, and that is to represent the hardworking people of Darien. And what have you heard them say? No.
15 seconds.
I see the first question of the code 5A226, section G. The question is making a decision. Is that special use deemed necessary? That answer is no. In closing, a valuable recognized corner should be a showcase for Darien, not a brick wall to obstruct what the village is trying to hide.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for opening up to public comment. My name is Trip Burton. I am a Woodridge resident, but I live just about a mile from this location, closer, I believe, than anybody sitting up there today. So I felt the need to come and share my thoughts on this as a Woodridge resident. Obviously, I'm having some deja vu here, sitting at a city council meeting, talking about building something that is not really necessary to our community. We, of course, rezoned to build a warehouse across the street from another warehouse with 185,000 empty square feet. How that's necessary, I don't know. But today I'm here to talk about this building. There are a lot of other people here who can talk legal and science more than me. I'm merely an English teacher, so I want to talk about words. From what I have read and understand, special use, and the attorney mentioned this, is deemed necessary in the community. And as he pointed out, is reasonable, is what necessary means. Well, to me, special means unique, and necessary means something you are offering that isn't offered other places. And within a 1 mile radius, there are 2 other small, family, and locally owned garages, which to me does not make this special, unique, necessary, or even reasonable. How reasonable is it to challenge our locally owned businesses, our family owned businesses, by bringing in a large corporation with a better business bureau rating that I won't even mention? You call Darien a nice place to live. That seems to be where we all want to hold this. I would also like to think that part of being a nice place to live is a nice place to own a locally owned business and not have the government try to push them out. So thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good evening. My name is Sylvia MacGyver. I am a Darien resident, a longtime Darien resident. I sent my 6-page correspondence, so I'm not going to go over that. I think our Director of Municipal Services and Alderman Legansky said it best. This would be a square peg in a round hole, and the fact that we are requesting they build a wall around, and I quote, a junkyard at really what we consider the western gateway to our city, I think is, just another reason that we don't want to become what some of our neighboring communities have become, in a government organization that no longer values the input and the voices of its residents. And I was proud to be sitting in your, seats for 14 years. And I know these are difficult decisions that you have to make. But I actually looked up the deed of the purchaser that when they made that purchase, and the deed on the DuPage County record said that the current, when they bought it, it was retail, and their intended use was retail. And I think that is when it was built, that was something that CVS served for many years, that type of business that lots of people could use, not just 3 ins and outs and 60 cars sitting there leaching whatever kind of fluids they're leaching while they're waiting to be served. I don't know about the environmental aspect when they check these locations, if they look inside the buildings only, or they actually check outside to see what might be, antifreeze or oils or whatever else might be coming out of these cars as they're waiting to be serviced. So I think that is a terrible location and not a necessary location for a junkyard. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Brandon Esparza, and I live at 8426 Main Street, just a few blocks from the property. Just to skip through some of the things that I already mentioned, I'll get right to it. In the first meeting, October 4, 2003, Gerber mentioned that their average square foot of their facilities is about 20,000 square feet. However, this location is about 13,000 square feet. That's approximately 35% less indoor space than our average facility. This is a significant reduction to indoor space that would lead us to expect that they will have significantly more outdoor storage at this facility, even though they are telling us that everything will be indoors. We are struggling to see how this is possible, which raises questions about their true intentions and their ability to adhere to their stated plans. Another concern is what deeply troubles us is the impact this business may have on a senior living facility directly next door. This facility caters to our vulnerable elderly population, providing a secure and nurturing environment for our seniors. If the senior living facility loses interest from potential new residents due to its proximity to a body shop, it could face financial challenges and even closure. The ramifications of this scenario are deeply concerning. It can lead to unintended consequences such as the conversion of the apartments to another type of housing that would not align with the current character of our community. This is a domino effect that can fall and cause a catastrophic downturn in our community that is currently known as a nice place to live. In conclusion, we do not oppose progress or development, but we do implore the City Council to consider the voice of the community and take into account potential long-term consequences of granting this special use permit. We ask for a dialogue with the City Council and a shared effort to make decisions that benefit our entire community while preserving the unique character and well-being of our neighborhood, including the senior living facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Steve Shanks, a Darien resident. Why is there a rush to push this proposal through when they have been lacking effort at every stage to come prepared and their plan is faulty? As Attorney Murphy cited in his previous notes to the council, if there are special problems with a particular proposed use at a particular site, the council will be well within its discretion to deny a requested special use for reasons like being too close to adjoining residential properties or inadequate mitigation efforts. I've emailed you all a fuller explanation. I'm condensing for time. Endangering public health, welfare, etc., Gerber's made claims that they operate safely and that they performed studies with data to support this, but where are they? None of the information provided has shown any actual study or data to support those claims, just taking their word. They needed to amend their application because they did not present anything on this topic initially. Even Alderman Belchak agreed with my previous statements at the municipal services meeting that they were woefully lacking in their application, though that agreement was left out of the previous meeting's minutes. You also asked that they provide additional information on the HVAC systems that they were going to do to provide the extra stuff. Didn't see that in the packet. Woefully unprepared. The special use will not diminish property values or impede the normal and orderly development of the surrounding property. Again, the detriment mentioned to property values is out there, including their immediate property nearby that's zoned to place a home even closer than it currently exists. They have not properly researched their neighboring properties to ensure safety or because they haven't planned properly. That adequate utilities and drainage are being provided. Their design plan places a storage lot for damaged vehicles which will leak fluid, directly upgraded the sewer drainage system on the property, and upslope of neighboring properties leading to the water table and groundwater contamination. They provided no plans for preventing this inevitable runoff. They have even failed to show on their site plans that damaged vehicles will be transported over that sewer drain daily in the course of their work. Poor planning and foresight again. These are a few of the most egregious errors in their planning, as such are cause for the City Council to deny the special use application. I will reiterate, Attorney Murphy cited, if there's cause, you can deny it. Mr. Mayor, in your most recent message to this city, you personally stated, I can guarantee our residents that our city will continue to exceed its residents' expectations. Such behavior is in our DNA. As long as I am mayor, Darien will continue to give more than is expected, love more than seems wise, serve more than seems necessary, and help more than is asked. Why then should you or any member of this council ever think twice about allowing an applicant to be approved with a proposal such as this that has offered less than is required, insulted more than seems wise, withheld more than seems prudent, and hurts more than has helped? The burden of proof is on them to meet the standards. They have not. You are well within your right to vote to deny this application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, timer on.
No, not until you give me your name.
Oh, he's better. All right, now I got an early warning. Hey, thank you very much. My name's Leo Augustus, also a resident in the area. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all today. I wanted to follow up on a few areas discussed at the Municipality Services Committee last week, specifically around, again, like the person before me said, a little bit around some nuanced answers and partial answers, and as well as some special use outcomes in other communities. So first of all, for starters, you know, Gerber said that they're a proud American company headquartered in Elmhurst under Boyd. Well, not really, right? So we know that they're, you know, while it shouldn't matter, we know that they're a Canadian company, no different than a Japanese car like a Subaru built in Indiana. 2022 sales of 2.4 billion, market cap of 5.3 billion. Last time, Gerber also told the group that this expansion is very similar to Walmart, right? And that this is going to help out Mr. Jepson's auto business. The impact of Walmart's been studied by many different business schools. It's a model for supply chain management and efficiencies. But based on Harvard graduate Charles Fishman's book, The Walmart Effect, right? The good has been that it drives down local prices. The bad is that it drains the viability of local shopping areas, right? And it continued downward pressure on local wages. Even the U.S. House Committee, as published in Forbes magazine, talked about the Walmart effect. So each Walmart store basically that has at least 300 employees costs taxpayers between $900,000 and $1.75 million a year. So let's be clear, Walmart's had a negative effect on some of the retail spaces and especially their competitors. Let's look at a couple of the auto industry, repair industry websites. So one of them here, bodyshopbusiness.com, the consolidation race, who will win? And it goes, who knows who's going to really win, right? I think the Home Depots, the Lowe's. We essentially got down to two home improvement stores. I also think about Target, Walmart, Sam's, and Costco, right? I think we'll wind up with two large brands in the collision world, and with Gerber and I guess the other company was Caliber, are likely the Target and Walmarts of this market. Another auto industry rag, talking about, Gerber Collision parent seeks to double again by 2025. And essentially this article sums it up to say, look, the new goal puts the U.S. auto body industry on notice that Gerber will remain an aggressive competitor and consolidator. Then they talked about also the charities and the volunteerism, right? So what do other stakeholders say? You know what? I'm going to just summarize this to say they've had issues with firing employees for cancer. They've had employees that wound up getting fired for being in blackface on video. And then last but not least, I'll just say that Wheaton, when faced with a similar issue, voted with the community and realized that just even a transmission shop was going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, alderpersons. I'm Robert Brackey. I'm also a local resident, and I'm dismayed that this proposal has gotten this far. First of all, as we were talking this evening, Gerber wants us to believe that only a couple cars a day will come and go. How is that any different than being able to service those cars at the existing facilities in the community? They could easily pick up a couple cars a day at each of those facilities. I would also move to have you recognize that Gerber is not a good partner. The Better Business Bureau ratings has been alluded to several times. I spent hours reading their ratings. 4% of their customers give them a positive rating. All of the others are negative. And those are 1 stars. That's only because the rating system will not let you give less than 1 star. I also am concerned, and this was not addressed at the last meeting, about drawing people into our community. If they're only going to be open 8 to 5 and have bunches of cars sitting around outside, what kind of miscreants will that draw to our community? And they had not even thought about security. Finally, I would say that when I was considering buying property in this area, I would have really had to think twice if I saw a body shop on one of the main corners. Thank you.
My name is Brian Lidke. I'm a Darien resident. Common theme throughout this process is that this applicant has just not been prepared, nor do they seem experienced for this type of development. The whole process reminds me of a charlatan who says, flip a coin, heads I win, tails you lose. From the beginning, this outcome has felt rigged in their favor. We know legally the focus needs to be on whether the applicant met the special use standards, so let's spend this time only focusing on those standards, which is what you were to vote on tonight. It's clear from their initial application, they did not. 1-word, 2-word, 3-word answers is not showing how they meet those standards. No one can dispute that. If my daughter, who's in Lakeview Junior High, turns her homework incomplete or is done with a lack of effort, she's graded for what she turns in. She isn't given more time to put effort into it. She learns from her mistakes. She does better next time. When our kids are held to a higher standard than the adults doing this development that's going to impact our entire community, that's a problem. I'm not going to spend the time going through each of these standards, demonstrating how they've not met these. You're very smart individuals. You can see for yourself how they haven't. I hope you've read all the emails that we've sent in that provide a fact-based breakdown of how they have failed to meet the burden of proof. Through each stage of this process, the applicant's been unprepared. Their attorney may want to nitpick language such as necessary and convenience and how the state defines that, but the question you really should be asking yourselves up here is why are they spending so much time trying to find legal loopholes to pass this through? Why can't the development stand on its own merits? If it's really that good of a win for us, there should be no problem filling that justification narrative out. I keep thinking back to Alderman Belzak's comments at the Municipal Services meeting last Tuesday, where he said he believed people should be allowed to amend their mistakes. While this is true, there should be some type of reason to justify their need to amend their application. What is Gerber's reason? They knew what the requirements were before applying when working with city staff. What changed, other than the intense public pushback against their woefully inadequate application that made them take this process seriously? What changed? Please listen to your residents. Don't let a fancy suit try and intimidate you when your own city attorney himself has advised the city council that they're well within their rights to deny a requested special use if it did not meet the stated conditions. This is not a subjective denial like done in the Living Word case, where Chicago Heights denied a church because they would rather have a commercial business. This is strictly Gerber not being able to supply the burden of proof to satisfy the most basic of these special use requirements. This is not neighborly. When you come in, you can't make your case, and you try to intimidate by threatening, saying, I will just sue you if you don't pass it. That's the partner you want in this town? That's not the one I want. In closing, I have never been more disappointed in an elected body than I am in this one up here. It's not just the fact that we're here tonight pleading again with you to do what's best for your residents. It's the high volume of banks, smoke and vape shops, and a marijuana dispensary. It's the proliferation of video gaming and the public condemnation of a former elected official who served his community while being silent against the abhorrent comments of a business leader who still serves on a committee today. The record of this administration is not a glowing one. Let's please fix it before it's too late. Thank you.
My name's Vic Batten. I live on 1905 in Manning Road. For the last 2 meetings, I've been trying to present a mindset where we're looking at the release of toxic and hazardous materials from the spray booth that is proposed for the facility, just like any other body shop. What I would like you to focus on is the amount of poisons that are going to be blown out of the air from the spray booth because volatile organic chemicals are not captured by 99% of the spray booths out there. There are, $500,000 spray booths that could do it. The Zephyr from Gerber and many others can't do it. So those VOCs are going to go into the air. And I'd like this group to have a sense of what is going to get blown into the air. I took a really low case. The typical amount of volatile organic chemicals, including carcinogens, is about 2.5 pounds per gallon of paint. This is waterborne paint. The MSDSs of the 80 pages of documents I've supplied the city will show those numbers and support those numbers. If you just do a simple set of calculations, that's going to be 12.5 pounds a week, 250 pounds a month, 3,000 pounds a year of those poisons blowing over to the elderly, is it elderly? Whatever the phrase we're using these days, across the street to the school. We haven't seen anything about dispersion modeling. We haven't actually seen any numbers except low. What's low mean? I don't know what low means. I spent 40 years in chemistry, biochemistry, and chemical engineering. Low is a no input number. It doesn't mean anything. There was a example about an isocyanate test that was done, but there are no conditions for the test. We don't even know if isocyanate was being used in the facility at the time they did the tests. That is not the type and the quality of information the city and the residents deserve. Thank you.
My name's Mark Bird. I'm a Brook Ridge resident. And I'd just like to remind everybody that from Main Street to Lamont Road, from the south border of this property all the way to Oldfield Road, all of those homes are on wells. There is no city water there. So whether it's the senior citizens or whether it's the Goddard School right across the street of Lamont Road or whether it's our water table, I'd like to know how much responsibility you guys are going to take if you pass this when something goes wrong 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, because sure as hell something will go wrong. How much responsibility are you going to take for that legal fight when all that happens? Because it will happen.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Phil Lively. I also live 3 blocks from this property, and I wanted to just thank you and especially the council members that have taken the time to really evaluate the context at which this request is being made, and just to shed a little more light on it, like the last speaker. All the information that's been provided is forgetting the fact that we're right adjacent to a very popular bike path, where a lot of people do routine exercise up and down Plainfield Road. And, you know, how that's going to be impacted by new types of vehicles turning in and out of that corner unit is something that doesn't make the answers that come to questions in the special use surveys. Also, the fact that this is a very high traffic area, and if you have a damaged car and you're turning in with something that doesn't turn as well, or with a tow truck, you know, how is that going to be impacted? This is not just a normal street that people are going up and down and by. Lastly, I think, you know, this is a turning point for Darien in deciding what people want to see coming into their community. And if you look in the other Gerbers that are in the area, and I've spent a lot of time as well driving around, going to the one on Ogden, the one up in Elmhurst, they don't look pristine a year or two after they're in operation. And that is not anything that you would want there at the premier, you know, entrance to your city. I would not think this is what you want long term. Make this your legacy to not have this happen. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Joe Mychek. I'm a Darien resident. I acknowledge and I value the efforts that our mayor, city council, other Darien committees have made to attract businesses to Darien to generate revenues to hopefully keep down any possible tax increases for the residents. I think everybody would support that, okay? But to accept just any business and put them at any location, that's foolish. And to ignore or dismiss the residents that are most impacted by this, that are in the vicinity there, that's wrong. Okay, let's get past the numbers and the science and that. Let's just get down to people, the people issue of this. What do the residents want? The ones that are most impacted. What would you guys want, and women, sorry, want if you were living in that area, had kids in that area? What would you think about the pollution coming from this, noise coming from this, other issues? Okay, it's not right for the community. I think, as others have said, I'm not going to belabor it. You know, this is kind of a retail area. It should just stay that. There are better areas where Gerber can can locate their business. It may not be in Darien. You know, maybe it will be. I don't know. At some of those frontage roads, there might be better areas, okay, that aren't close to residents and won't have a negative impact. So I'm asking you guys, I'm recommending that you deny the petitioner's special use request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Uribe. I'm actually a resident of Downers Grove, but live close to the subject property. I wrote a very long email to you all this afternoon, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details, and I certainly couldn't condense it to 3 minutes. But I did want to make a really brief comment. I understand that Attorney Murphy did mention during the working session that there could be a lawsuit if the city denies the application. I don't know the thinking that Mr. Murphy maybe had at that time, but I am going to say that I respectfully disagree. I do think that there's plenty of play in the standards for what is a special use, and certainly the standard of review, should you all decide to deny, would be arbitrary. Everybody in this room has given you many, many reasons why you could deny this and it would not be arbitrary. Gerber has the obligation to put forward specific data about why this use is appropriate for this particular location and for this particular use. We have seen from many folks that have spoken here that there are certain concerns with this particular property. Alderman Legansky pointed out just how this business would not be consistent with the way this particular property is set up, and especially in relation to how close it is to residential homes. So I just wanted to reinforce the fact that the city, like many others have said, is in a position to deny this application based on what has been presented to it, and I would encourage them to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public comment, and I'm going to ask for a motion to approve item A, consideration of motion to approve an ordinance granting a special use, Gerber Collision, 8325 Vermont Road. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, second by Alderman Shower. Discussion. Any additional comments that you'd like to make?
The public comments reminded me that I did ask Gerber to give me an answer regarding the HVAC and security concerns that I had, because it was brought up that a parking lot that's not it's closed a lot. You're closed on the weekends and you're closed in the evenings. So what type of security will there be for that parking lot?
Alderman Belzak, just if I could interject, Gerber did provide us an email late Friday, I believe it was, in regards to the security. They will be having a security system in place. ADT will be their provider. As far as the HVAC, I would defer back to Gerber to further expound on that.
We are installing all new HVAC at the facility. I think one of the other questions was regarding sprinkler systems. We did check with
Correct.
our
Right,
architect
correct.
as well.
Yes.
And we have a 4-inch line in place, which is sufficient to support this use. As far as security cameras, apologize for not answering that right away. We typically do not install security cameras, especially in a high-end area like Darien, because there just isn't theft, with Gerber. We did do it, though, however, upon request, and we've got cameras at each corner of the building.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on the sprinkler system, though?
Yeah.
Now, because when I met with we had an open house at the fire station a while back, and I was sitting with the fire chief, and he actually asked me what was going on with the building, and the thing he said to make sure of is that that sprinkler system that's currently in place with CVS would not be sufficient for an auto repair place. So have we gotten someone to look at that to make sure we're enhancing?
It will be enhanced and it will meet code. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else? Mike?
I just want to get a better handle, Mike and Brian, on really the whole issue with the tax revenue. I mean, what are we anticipating now out of this? Because I'm getting conflicting numbers here.
Well, I don't know. I can't really speak to it because, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I might speak to it. I don't think the numbers that were represented were what were in our package. We'll actually do, on average, the average store would do $3 to $3.5 million in sales. I think what was in our package was 1.25 to 1.5 of that would be taxable. I believe your home rule, which would be 2%, is that correct? Of those taxable sales.
The 2% includes the normal 1% and our 1% home rule.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
the 2%.
Yes, thank
correct.
you.
Yeah, so the number should be significantly higher than was presented.
Right.
Where the actual numbers come out, I don't really know.
What is that, though?
Yeah.
45, 60 grand is what I'm
Realistically, it should
thinking.
be 40 to 60,000.
Okay, so that's what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
Which isn't, for a retail place that was designed for retail, 25,000 cars go through the intersection. Is it a good deal for, the leasing company? I don't know. Is it a good deal for Darien? For $60,000 a year? I don't think so.
Sorry, do you want to say something, or do you want?
Yeah, Mike Pierce, store build. I'd just like to further the discussion on the financials here. CVS, an average CVS store does about $300 a foot, and the bulk of their sales is pharmaceutical, food, and drug being pharmaceutical, which is at 1% tax. They do sell some general merchandise. It's really more impulsive buys, more convenience store trips, but the majority of the trips would be food and drug related to a convenience store / drugstore. So if you break down what their taxable sales were of the general merchandise, it's generally would be in the range of $1 million to $1.3 million. In the case of Gerber, an average store would do $3 to $3.5 million. As alluded to earlier today, the services, which is labor, is not taxable, but the parts are taxable. In fact, I know there's some tricks to the trade, which Gerber doesn't participate in, where you can make services taxable, but they do not. So just the parts they're estimating would be in the 1.2 to 1.5 million range. That's taxable at the full 8%. So that's coming from 900 stores averages.
Mike?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So the point I was trying to make is the general merchandise that CVS was selling versus the parts Gerber is selling is almost identical. Just estimating it.
Okay. I'm going to make some comments here that will probably get many things thrown at me up on this dais this evening. I'm actually going to be taking a very opposite view of what I'm seeing in the audience. I live about 2.5 blocks from the potential site here. I've always walked to CVS and Walgreens. Not that I'll be walking to Gerber, because I hopefully don't need their services. But I think as Darien developed, I mean, I was involved in the comprehensive plan redo for Darien probably back about 15 or 20 years ago. Back at the time, we were looking at having a downtown Darien, much as we have at 75th and Cass now, and we were looking to redevelop that, but there were a lot of parcels and there were a lot of struggles to try and get that all consolidated. So we came up with an alternate plan. Let's use the western side of Darien along Lamont Road, just south of 75th Street. There was a property called the Posapel property at the time, and this woman was willing to actually sell her property to Darien at a significantly discounted price, and we could have really put a really nice downtown there. Well, everybody got together, though, and the city decided Lamont and 75th is not downtown Darien. 75th and Cass is downtown Darien, so all the effort was put into more redeveloping that area than the 75th and Lamont Road. Well, over that time, too, you see what's happened at 75th and Lamont Road as you go south. I mean, you do have these industrial warehouses. One's on our side, one's going up on the Woodridge side. It's not lending itself to the pretty, or whatever you want to call it, high-quality development that you would expect. It is more an industrial development. It's evolved into more an industrial area. And this particular corner, 83rd and Lamont Road, is a very busy intersection. So unfortunately, while I feel for a lot of the residents, I'm hearing a lot of the same not in my backyard type things that I used to hear when I was on the Plan Commission. But as I look at it as a city treasurer, I'm trying to look here. Number one, retail. We all know retail is dying. I mean, we have it in one of our plazas, the plaza on 75th and Lamont Road in Downers Grove. There's a room place. I went to buy something the other day on the room place on Boughton, close to the Costco, and I said, you have one already on 75th Street. I said, well, we're closing that one in December. Our lease is up. And if you look at that plaza, that one's very vacant. We've gotten a lot of pressure or a lot of comments over the years. Dan can probably got sworn at by the people at Trader Joe's. I can't imagine how many times. Why can't you get a Trader Joe's here? Everybody, hey, this would be a perfect location for a Trader Joe's. And like I say, Dan probably got sworn at many a time where they won't even take his phone calls anymore. And as I look at it as a resident in that area, Gerber is portraying whether it's 15 cars, 8 cars a day, whatever it is. If you put a Trader Joe's there, I guarantee there's going to be a lot of cars there every day. It's going to generate a very high traffic volume, much greater than what you're seeing here. Granted, the return would probably be greater from a sales tax perspective, but from a traffic perspective, I've talked to some of the residents in the Myers Senior Housing, and they sort of didn't even like the idea of restaurants there because restaurants tend to stay open till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Again, more traffic, just like you'd have with the Trader Joe's. Whereas this, you've got a 9 to 5, 5-day-a-week thing, and the residents there are going to be much less put upon. Now, I respect what some of you are saying in terms of the environmental issues. I'm not capable of speaking to those issues. I mean, I hate to say that I have a trust in government because I don't think anybody has trust in much government anymore nowadays, whether it's ours or at any level. But I have to hope that those people are doing their job, whether it's Gerber or anybody else, that any of our businesses are complying with whether it's sprinkler or the environmental issues. So that being said, I mean, this is an area that's vacant. Again, we have a lot of vacant property in a lot of areas, and I really don't see it getting significantly better anytime soon just because we're Darien, so come to Darien. I mean, how many stores, Montgomery Wards, how many names could you name that are no longer in business? So to have something like this as an operating business in Darien on a main business street that, again, has developed more industrial type in nature as opposed to our downtown Darien, I personally, I don't get to vote, but I would personally support this. I know, I hear what you're saying, Jerry, in terms of the sales tax. It's not significant or consequential. But it is better if you had a medical facility, some sort of medical facility there. Again, the volume would be higher and you get zero sales tax. But those are the types of things you see going into a lot of these vacant locations as opposed to something here. Another pie in the sky type of thing, well, they say labor is not taxable. Illinois is always looking for money, and the idea that you always hear talked about, hey, maybe we can tax labor. They're talking about taxing services and labor. I wouldn't count on that. I would not use any of that in consideration on this. But again, I'm being a couple blocks away, and I would be still in favor of it being put at this location. Again, feeling sympathy for the neighbors that are joining it, but again, it's a main intersection, and something is going to be happening there. So that's my 2 cents.
Anyone else? Eric?
Yeah, I mean, this is my ward, so bear with me here. You know, I've taken and spent a lot of time researching this. You know, I've gone and I've met with the Myers Commons leadership team, met with them with Store Build. We had a special meeting for them to answer their questions and go through their things. I conducted a tour of Myers Commons and got to know those representatives pretty well, and really, I think, got a good understanding of what their concerns are with the noise, aesthetics, hours of operation, fumes, and the whole 9 yards with the concerns there. You know, the question I've always posed to people, and especially the folks at Myers Commons, because let's be honest, they're going to be the ones that are most impacted in the city of Darien. These are the people. There are 93 units, okay, over in that facility. You have to be 62 or older to live there, and I've been told that the average age is 80 years old, okay? So I'm focused on those people. I mean, you can question that, but those are the people. And I've asked them, it's like, okay, if it's not Gerber, what's it going to be? Okay? What if it's a restaurant or bar? Okay? Now take a look at the positives and negatives of that. The positive is, yeah, you have a place for the residents to frequent. Okay? And the negative side, you have a real, you know, it's probably going to have outdoor seating because most Darien residents are looking for that, which that's going to add noise. That's going to add garbage to the area. Music could be added to the venue, so now you're going to have potential residents being woken up by music. And if there are other bars in Darien that have music issues that people have had to call the police on. So I don't think they want that noise either. And rodents could be a real issue. And frankly, a big thing, you know, we talk about what parking's available there. Well, if all of a sudden there's a restaurant or bar in there, parking may become very limited. Where are people going to park? They're going to park at Myers Commons. Now, Myers Commons is going to have a major parking issue. So, you know, you always got to be very careful. I wish we had 3 different businesses to pick from, okay, of what to go into the CVS building. But unfortunately, we don't. And I recently spoke to, I spoke to a lot of residents, from email and here tonight that oppose it. But I've also talked to a lot of residents that don't oppose it. Okay, there are a lot of people out there that are not going to come. They're not going to come and speak in this kind of forum. But when I'm out walking, when they're calling me, they are in agreement with this type of business. Okay, so I recently spoke to a Darien resident who was an insurance adjuster for 40 years. He worked with Gerber during that time. He had extremely positive things to say about Gerber. So, you've got to listen to all viewpoints here. And I really feel that, and we need somebody, we can't get a business in there that's going to be closing their doors in 6 months. Okay, and then it's going to sit open again for 2 years. Then we get somebody in there for a year. Gerber is signing a long-term lease, and I really feel that they could become a good long-term neighbor to the residents of Myers Commons and to all of Darien residents.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else?
Just got a couple of things that enter my mind. You know me, Mary. I think this up too much. Sometimes I wear my emotions on the sleeve, but I'm looking right here at subsection G, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Gerber nor anybody else can guarantee that there will not be any seepage of any chemicals to hit into the water table over the course of time. That's one. Secondly, public health doesn't necessarily equate to physical health. It can very easily be mental health as well to a community. We are 4 years removed from Sterigenics. And the people that lived in those communities or the people from this side of town that were, driving through there or shopping at the Target or going to Carrie Piper when it was there. That business went away, and people got a chance to relax again. These people in this side of town, now here we go again. We got something in our backyard, and now what their mental capacity is going to be, knowing that's there, knowing what the potential could be. So between the water table and that, tonight I'm a no.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, I have read through, had meetings. I went to other auto body shops and talked to owners, especially our local businesses, and went to other Gerber locations to assess. I mean, a lot of the questions I had concerns about were answered tonight, and I've gotten some assurance about the front of the building not turning into a junkyard, but I feel like that's still a wait and see. There's people that, fear getting tickets for their garbage cans and they still leave them out in front of their house. But I guess at the end of the day, I'm not convinced that the finding of facts and the special use criteria has been met. I still question many of them. And I do feel that as elected officials, and Alderman Kenny mentioned it, it's not always about a physical, it's a mental. I think the residents have really spoken out quite loudly, and we have to hear their voices and concerns, and preserving their welfare and their safety and potential property values. And I also feel that, in my opinion, the finding of facts and the special use, having served on planning and zoning and as an alder person now, have not adequately been met. So I'm a no.
All right. Unless there's any more discussion, I'm going to call the question. Joanne, will you take the roll?
Belzak?
Aye.
Schauer?
Aye.
Gustafson?
Aye.
Kenny?
No.
Legansky?
No.
Stompanato?
Aye.
Sullivan?
No.
4 ayes and 3 nays.
The motion passes. I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. What you had to offer was great information, and I do appreciate what you did have to say. We have 2 other items that we need to address.
By the way, I wish I had an opportunity to talk about the OSHA violations that they've had for hazardous chemicals. Thank you very much.
You'll all be voted out. All be voted out.
So New York and Nevada. Thank you. Not one resident could email or say anything on the record in support, yet Gustafson claims plenty of them did.
You screwed your own businesses here. That guy's been in business for 16 years.
Okay, item B. Consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance amending section 3-3-7, 4D of the Darien City Code Liquor Control Regulations. Motion to approve. Alderwoman Sullivan, second by Alderman Stompanato. Discussion. And again, just to reiterate, this is a second license for Carriage Greens. It appears as if Carriage Greens presently and in the future will have a separation between the banquet and the golf end of it. So it appears that there'll always be a separate entity, which really necessitates the need for another liquor permit. Eric?
I mean, there's no chance now that the city's going to be drawn into this legal action, are they?
No, I'll let Attorney Murphy talk.
Yeah, let me kind
Yeah.
of expand on that a little bit.
Okay.
This started out maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, when we were notified that Carriage Greens was filing essentially an eviction action against what I'm going to call the LLC. Everybody knows that separate entity. Well, one thing led to another, and what started out as a simple eviction proceeding now has turned into a rugged, nasty lawsuit, countersuit involving competing claims, several $100,000 each. So unless there's a quick reconciliation, this could be a long time. Just based on the paper and the charges and countercharges, a lot of money involved. So it's not simply landlord throwing a tenant out. So that puts the city in a difficult position because Carriage Green saying, LLC, they don't have a liquor license. LLC says, well, we don't have a liquor license because Carriage Greens told us we didn't need a liquor license. So we met at the staff level and with the mayor, and we reached a consensus that we want to be Switzerland as far as this dispute's concerned. We want complete neutrality and not pick sides, but most importantly, we do not want to jeopardize people who've relied on this facility for weddings, events moving forward. It would be a terrible thing to yank the LLC's license just on the basis of this and thereby hurt innocent people.
Okay.
So then we thought, well, had the LLC applied back, 4 years ago when they were first doing this, will we have granted the liquor license? The answer is obviously yes. It would have been a no-brainer. So we thought that this would put us in the best position to let the combatants fight it out and let the LLC proceed the way they should have 4 years ago. Now, if it turns out Carriage Greens wins the lawsuit, that's the end of the LLC and that. So that's kind of a long way, Eric. That's not a guarantee that we couldn't be brought into this lawsuit.
Right.
But I think that the course we've chosen is the best way for us not to take sides in this and protect mostly the innocent people who are maybe relying on events. Now, from my end, I've taken the position that after the first initial, once I have an understanding that this is not a simple eviction case, I've said to the two lawyers, anything I send to one, I'm sending to the other. So we're going to do everything we can to remain neutral, but that's not to say that Carriage Green might say, we want the court to enter an injunction preventing Darien from going ahead with the LLC. Whatever happens, happens, but we're doing the best we can to be neutral and fair, mostly to the innocent people.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary.
So obviously, we're increasing the ordinance to go from 11 to 12, presuming the LLC will apply for that new liquor license.
They have.
Okay.
They're actually going in for printing tomorrow, right, Brian?
Okay.
So they're going through the application.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
application.
know, John, if it's exactly printing, but they're coming tomorrow.
Okay. So say we pass the ordinance tonight, hypothetically, then they apply, we award it to them. What happens when they potentially leave the property, the premises, stop operating? Then they return, they forfeit the liquor license? How does that protocol go about?
Yeah, it automatically contracts. Liquor licenses are not like zoning. Zoning goes with the land. So if Speedway sells, speaking of 83rd and Lamont Road, if Speedway has a special use permit, they sell to Mobile, that runs with the land. Not true in the case of liquor licenses. Everybody has to individually qualify. So it would not give anybody any special advantage if they either settle the case and the LLC goes, or Carriage Greens wins. It would it would require a whole new application process for anybody to obtain that liquor license.
Thank you.
How does that impact any venues? Like if somebody's got a wedding planned or anything?
Our point is that we don't want to jeopardize people
Yeah.
who have an event. That's
Right.
the main
Yeah.
reason that we're taking this position, other than we don't know who's telling the truth.
And this could, and as John said, this could go on for a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion and a second?
Yep.
And the roll?
Sullivan,
Aye.
Stompanato,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Legansky.
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion's been approved. Item C, consideration of a motion to approve the expenditure of budgeted funds, line item 140-4815, capital purchases, to purchase 7 police administrative vehicles from Napleton Fleet Group in an amount of $308,424. Motion to approve. Alderman Legansky, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion.
This is under budget?
Yeah.
There's a question mark at the
I
end of what
know,
I
it's
just
just
said.
like, wow, that's a lot of,
was,
go,
yeah.
Ray,
Yeah.
me.
We'll take
Yeah,
it.
yeah, especially nowadays.
And that's,
Means they were
and
bad
that's
with the
before we
budget number
sell the
going
other
into
ones,
it.
yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Unlike, yeah.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for vehicles.
Under.
All right.
There's more to be
We have a
purchased.
motion and a
Dan.
second. The roll?
Legansky.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Stompanato.
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The motion is approved. Questions, comments, and announcements. I want to thank the administrative staff. I want to thank Jordan and Dan for all the work that they've done on this Gerber proposal. I want to thank Attorney Murphy for providing his input, and thank Mr. Vanna for all the work. City staff really worked hard on this just to get the correct information. I want to thank the public who showed up tonight. I would like to tell them that we heard what they had to say, but the overriding circumstance is that the council voted 4-3 and approved this. And to a certain extent, what Michael said is something that I needs to be considered. This is an area that appears more industrial than it does retail. Mr. Pierce made a comment when I first heard this presentation, and his comment was, we need to find a business that's Amazon-proof. In other words, you need to put something in that location that Amazon's not going to draw away, and Gerber seemed to fit that. But I want to thank staff, and I want to thank all of you for the municipal services meeting, for your attendance at planning and zoning. You guys put a lot of time into this. I know you really pondered this, and I know this was a tough decision for a lot of you. Eric, this is your award. You made a tough decision tonight.
Very
This
tough.
is your award.
Very tough.
I told Eric we got to stop having things in his ward.
I know.
We had the Christmas tree,
Well, the
though.
Christmas tree, you got, yeah, we
Even the Christmas
celebrated.
tree came from his ward.
Probably going to argue over what color the lights are going to be next.
But I
We
want
get to
that.
celebrate that, which is really special. Beautiful family. I mean, wow,
personal-
what a
yeah,
great story.
And they were, I don't know if you saw the video, but WGN had it. I think Mary posted it on Facebook where they were actually putting the tree into the,
Oh, downtown?
Yeah, downtown, they did that
downtown.
today.
Oh,
And
cool.
they, just to
It
let
was
you
at the
know,
tree
is
spot
they've
over the
invited
weekend.
us to come down for the tree lighting, and they said that we'll get a special media pass that will go to the front of the line, and we'll be right up there in front. So once Mr. Vanna rents a bus, that we can all go down. Anyway, thank you to all of you for your hard work on this. I appreciate it. Anyone have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, can I just add one couple quick things? Just for information purposes, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I attended a Stop the Bleed class, okay, down in New Lenox, and that's what it really is. It's if you get a serious wound, how you stop the bleed. It was well done by a ER doctor down in New Lenox, who did a great presentation on it. And on Wednesday, I've got a CPR and defibrillator class that I'm taking. And frankly, the reason I'm doing all this, when I go up to Canada, if you call the emergency 911, you have to wait 45 minutes before they get there. Last year, I had to pull a neighbor out of his house, out of his a fire out of his house. And I sat there with him in agony for 45 minutes until the paramedics got there, watching his house burn down.
Yeah, but they have national health care. It should be great.
So, that's why I'm personally taking, but I encourage a lot of people. The
sure.
bleeding class was free at New Lenox. The class for CPR and defibrillator is $65 in Hinsdale. If people want any more information, let me know.
Thanks, Eric. Anyone else? Tom?
Yeah, Dan was so kind to point out that I made a mistake when I said my municipal services meeting was on the 21st. It's actually the 20th. And I just want to make sure our minutes are correct.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, with the change, you made.
Yeah, it was changed. I said the 21st. It's
Brian,
changed
can you
to the
give us
20th.
just the reminder on the goal setting, the timing, and it's over at the police, right? It's
Yeah, it's at the police station,
14th, right?
6:30. The agenda will go out probably in 2 more days. We're just waiting for a couple more documents.
And we have beautification on that goal-setting agenda. So we're looking to beautify
For the west
city.
side of Darien?
All of Darien. 75th and Lamont.
When the packet goes out, there's a cover memo, kind of a transmittal memo. It gives a little overview of each of the topics, what we're asking the council to talk about, and then for things that we need to, we'll have backup.
great. Thank you. It's usually a very good meeting.
Mary brings the
First
treats.
one.
Motion to
Treats.
adjourn? Alderman Chower, seconded by Alderman Legansky. You had your hand up.
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.